Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Now we're going to present about the assignment that has been given for us 2 weeks ago, which is to review literature and fiction. But before that, allow us to introduce ourselves. My name is Anjely P. Parihala.
My name is Ferderika Elakemaina.
In here, we're going to present about literature and fiction. In literature, there is what is literature, function of literature, and types of literature, which will be explained by me. And my friend Dika will explain about the fiction. She will explain about definition of fiction, types of fiction, elements of fiction, and example of fiction literary works. So without further ado, we will just start with the first material, which is literature. So what exactly is a literature? So literature is a collection of different written texts. In here we already searched 3 definitions of literature by experts. The first one is Pickering, James H. and Hooper, Jeffrey D. 1981, says that literature is a uniquely human activity born of man's timeless desire to understand, express, and finally share experiences. And there is Clara, 2004. He says that in most cases, literature is referred to as the entirety of written expression, with the restriction that not every written document can be categorized as literature in the more exact sense of the word. Franz Kafka, 1920, says that the literature has its roots also in the movement of expressionism and surrealism, as well as in the fiction. B. Function of literature. So there are 10 functions of literature. The first one is knowledge sharing. This is very basic. And then the second one is upbringing. So the literature helps us to understand the world between good and bad, and it is also influenced the way we behave, the way we perceive everything. Number 3 is entertainment. So a lot of people still find that literature art is very entertaining for themselves, because when we read a literature art, we don't need to move from our bed. We don't need to move from the place where we were in at that time. Number 4 is communication. So it's either could be communication between the authors and the readers, or between the readers itself. 5. Shaping the aesthetic taste. So literature helps us to develop our views and become more sensitive about the beauty of the world. So it is also influenced the way we behave. 6. Self-development. So self-development literature is something that help us to develop ourselves. For example, when we read literature art about self-development, without we realizing it, maybe we could get influence from it. Number 7 is development of thought process. So the more information that we know, the more we think about it, and the more we think about it, the more we want to discuss about it with other people. So there is a process that happens in there. 8. Pleasure. So literature is something that gives joy, gives pleasure to the readers. We get pleasure every time we read something that is artistic and poetic and beautiful. 9. Shaping the speech. So people can enrich their vocabulary when they learn, when they read, when they hear literature, because they get new words every time, and then they can construct their own sentence. Last but not least, transformation. Next type of literature. So basically, there are 5 genres of literature that us as students should be familiar with. The first one is poetry. So poetry is basically the oldest form of literature, where you could read it or you could speech the poetry by yourself live. For example, Sonnet 18 and The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. The second one is prose. Prose is kind of the same with poetry, but the difference is prose is more focused on character and plots, and also we need to read it, while poetry is more focused in the sound. So for example, books, novel, when you read novels, and then short stories and dramas and etc. 3. Drama. So drama is basically something that's meant to be performed. For example, like Hamlet and then Juliet, Romeo and Juliet. etc. Number 4 is nonfiction. Nonfiction is in contrast of fiction. So nonfictions contain something that educate people. Nonfictions contain facts, ideas, issues that basically real. It's basically something that really happening. For example, like autobiology, travel books, and encyclopedia, and then newspaper, and many others. The last one is media. Media is the newest form of literature. For example, like comics, and then graphic novels.
And now I want to tell about fiction. The first is definition of fiction. Fiction is an imaginative work containing stories created by the author. In fiction, characters and events can be fictional or based on altered reality. Definition of fiction in literature. Fiction in literature refers to a type of work that tells stories or events created by the author's imagination. Works of fiction, works of non-fiction. And the three is definition of fiction according to experts. 1. According to Rocky Garrett, fiction is energy connected with telos, and it's fictional in nature. Next, according to Chris Marsan, the definition of fiction is an essay that contains stories or stories based on the author's imagination. Next, according to Tani Ahmad, fiction is a narrative story that arises from the author's imagination and does not pay attention to historical fact. According to Henry Gunter Terry, fiction is a literary work that originates from the author's imagination. And the last, according to Sen, the definition of fiction is a type of literary narrative that is in the form of a story created by the author without regard to reality. Next, types of fiction. 1. Realistic fiction. 2. Fantasy fiction. 3. Science fiction. And the last, historical fiction. Next, elements of fiction. 1. Character. The main character. The main character is a character who goes through a basic journey and experiences transformation during the story. 2. Supporting characters. Supporting characters provide color and support the development of the main character and bring the fictional world created to life. 3. Antagonist character. The antagonist is the main enemy or obstacle that opposes the main character, creating conflict in the story. 2. Plot. Narrative structure, fix and plot twists, resolution and denouement. 3. Point of view. Point of view, there are third person, first person, and alternating narrative. Next, setting. Setting, there are time and place. For the time refers to when the story takes place and provide the necessary historical context and atmosphere. And for the place includes the location or setting of the story. Next is style. Style is one descriptive to dialogue and storytelling style, spatial language. And the last is depth. Differentiate yourself, courage, face fear, tolerance, and acceptance. And the last is example of fictional literary works. 1 is there are Harry Potter, Inception, and Pride and Prejudice. So that's all for me. Thank you.